New York City. Historically New Amsterdam, by name the Big Apple. City and port located at the mouth of the Hudson River. New York City is in reality a collection of many neighborhoods. Moving around may be like passing from one country to the next. New York is both the gateway to the North American continent and its preferred exit to the oceans of the globe. No other city has contributed more images to the collective consciousness of Americans. Wall Street means finance. Broadway is synonymous with theater. Fifth Avenue is automatically paired with shopping. Madison Avenue means the advertising agency. Greenwich Village connotes bohemian lifestyles. 7th Avenue signifies fashion. And Harlem evokes images of the Jazz Age. Its symbol is the Statue of Liberty, but the metropolis is itself an icon, the arena in which Emma Lazarus's tempest-tossed people of every nation are transformed into Americans, and if they remain in the city, they become New Yorkers." End quote. Quote, "The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land, here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome, her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door." End quote.
The Hudson River, 2 years ago.
Your part in the mission is complete. You are to leave at once.
No, it's not over yet.
I can see the moon, even in this storm, pale as death. I have a bad feeling about this mission. You swore this to me, that you would leave the unit once the mission was complete. Do not worry, this is a country of liberty.
No, this is where I belong, with the unit. I have nowhere else to go. Father, I want to stay and fight.
There is no choice to make here, Olga. Need I remind you that you are carrying my grandchild? You will be on the helicopter out of here now.
Damn it.
It's nothing to fear.
U.S. Air Force established a radar chain at sea on structures similar to the oil drilling platforms now used in the Gulf of Mexico. Towers.
Though introns are important to regulating gene expression, though they, like the exon, are products of DNA, remember, they cannot be coded into new proteins. They cannot leave their mark on future
What you doing in here with a gun, Snake?
Looking for somebody.
Who?
The president.
Though few remember it today, 6 months ago, the high-profile Leavenworth prison suicide case marked an end to the tragic...
Ain't she a beaut? This truly is a country of liberty. But she's not the Hudson Bay's only symbol of American patriotism. Come and enjoy food, science, and informe fun. just 20 miles off the coast, at the state-of-the-art Filtration Center. Voted by TouristWatch.com as the top tourist target of 2009, the Big Shell. Appointments in advance are required. When Snake is tempest-tossed into Manhattan Harbor and appears to drown, the player's likely reaction is, yeah, right. After all, Hollywood tradition has taught us that characters are never truly dead unless we're shown the body. But Ocelot's conversation with the mysterious Mr. President reprises the final moments of MGS1.
Yes, thank you. Goodbye, Mr. President.
Yes, of course, Mr. President.
And then there's this title card of information on nuclear weapons. Again, conjuring memories of the end of MGS1. Is that what we've just witnessed? Another Metal Gear Solid story? Snake's story? Coming to a close? But then MGS2 really takes the proverbial cake. The opening line of this new cutscene, spoken by MGS1's Colonel Roy Campbell, is,
Snake, do you remember the sinking of that tanker 2 years ago?
With this line, the player breathes a sigh of relief. Okay, right, we think to ourselves. The tanker section was just a flashback. Snake obviously survived, and here's the proof. One of his oldest war buddies calling him by name, giving an offhand reference to the very scenario we just played through. This is clearly the one and only Solid Snake in the building. But then...
Snake, do you remember the sinking of that tanker 2 years ago?
Of course.
Now Snake definitely seems dead. Not just dead, but forgotten. Like he's been written out of his own game. Snake! And then it sinks in. This Snake doesn't remember the tanker incident firsthand. He can't. Wasn't there. He must have learned about it like everybody else from stories widely reported in the mass media. The same could be said of this Snake's relationship to Snake the character. From the exposition delivered in voiceover, to the choppers, to the underwater infiltration, this scene is quintessential MGS. It's downright conservative, except for the minor detail that the iconic protagonist has been, for lack of a better term, recast.
I think they were on their way to a funeral.
Had no head for heights.
He has all the general qualities of Snake, everything people remember about the legend, but with none of the particulars. But technically, MGS1 Snake was not even the real Snake. His name was Dave. Not to mention, of course, that Dave was a clone of the fallen idol Big Boss. In short, there is no real Snake.
Pretty shocking, huh? His skin tone is different, but otherwise you two are exact duplicates.
I have a twin?
It's a name for those who have no name. A face mask for the faceless. This raises a fundamental question for MGS2. Is that all Snake is? A role to be played? A name to be called? A willing pawn to be given orders? Or is there something more?
This is breaking news.
A hostage situation is currently underway inside the Big Shell, Manhattan Bay's famous filtration plant. It's likely President Johnson has been taken prisoner, along with more than 24 other government officials. Counterterrorism experts say this crisis not only closely resembles 2007's tanker incident, but could become even worse. That's right, new Snake's orders are to resolve one of Hollywood's favorite crisis fantasies come true. The American president has been taken hostage by terrorists. They're threatening to make a big boom if they don't get a giant sack full of money. Like I said, downright conservative. But notably, the present scenario does deviate a bit from MGS1's broad premise in a few important ways. There's no mention of a terrorist-operated Metal Gear, for example. No nuclear weapons either, though if the terrorists blow the Big Shell up, even just with conventional bombs, the remaining crude in the surrounding water could ignite.
That's not the worst-case scenario. If the chlorides being used to decontaminate the seawater go up with the oil, toxins containing catastrophic levels of dioxins will be released. In other words, the bay's ecosystem will be wiped out, and the sea will turn into a toxic soup for centuries, becoming the worst environmental disaster in history.
That makes your mission all the more monumentally important. This shot foreshadows MGS2's larger themes. You can't really be sure if New Snake looks like he's ascending to the surface or descending into the dark underworld. Will we discover the illuminating light of truth? Or the murky shadows of lies and illusions? It's all in how you look at it. On the way in, New Snake notices someone recently cut a hole in the fence.
There was a brand new hole cut through the oil fence. There's someone else besides me that wanted to get in badly.
That's not possible.
When he mentions it to Campbell for an apparently unrelated reason, the next thing that happens is Snake's code name gets changed.
And by the way, Snake, we're changing your code name for all following communication.
What's wrong with Snake?
Just a precaution. You are now designated Raiden.
On one level, this name change has a straightforward story explanation we're given a little bit later. But on every other level, it's a real mindfuck. But this last-minute name change right before the mission starts, I argue, is a subtle fourth-wall-breaking nod to MGS2's own shocking last-minute change of protagonist identities.
This is Snake.
In the very next room, you run into yet another mystery man. Except this one bears strong resemblance to a Snake we recognize. We may recognize the work and backside of Solid Snake when we see them, but Raiden certainly doesn't.
Colonel, there's definitely another intruder in here besides me.
That's not a possibility.
Not a team. Looks like a solo job.
One man.
We may not know who he is, but he managed to take care of every sentry in the area. They're all out cold. Whoever he is, he's got some skills.
Yet only moments earlier, Raiden was supposed to be something like Snake's stand-in.
This is Snake. I'm now inside Strut A of Shell 1.
This only further underscores how little Raiden knows about the real Snake from MGS1, and how inappropriate and inaccurate of a replacement he makes. Considering MGS1's elevator scene is one of its most recognizable, this is a hilariously ironic turn of events. It's as though neither Campbell nor Raiden recognizes the signature event of their own game, or its protagonist, even when they're face to face, or butt, as the case may be.
You're familiar with the Shadow Moses incident?
You know I covered it in VR.
Even more ironically, earlier, the game seemed oblivious to the fact its own protagonist had gone missing, but now it seems oblivious to the fact that its protagonist has reappeared. This adds one more question to the Snake pile. If what gives the character his essence fails to be passed on, fails to be communicated, expressed here by the snake-like figure's complete silence, then will he be remembered and thought of inaccurately? If there's no one around to correct the record, at what point, if any, do the various lies, inaccuracies, and distortions become accepted as the truth? Not just for Snake, but in general. Are all truths in some sense provisional? Does the character Snake even have an inner fundamental essence that we've spent this entire episode pondering? Fortunately for the President and for the Hudson Bay, Raiden is oblivious to the existential crisis these questions raise. He seems just as oblivious to what appears to be the final initiation ritual in becoming the new Snake, as moving forward requires a near exact reenactment of the first puzzle and level of MGS1.
Make sure nobody sees you. If you need to, contact me by codec. The frequency is 140.85. When you want to use the codec, push the select button. When we need to reach you, contact you, the codec will beep. When you hear that noise, press the select button. The codec's receiver directly stimulates the small bones of your ear. No one but you will be able to hear it.
Even these industrial forklifts are near identical. I suppose Raiden has good reason to be distracted. He's just found out that due to yet another last-minute personnel change, the person responsible for all the mission data analysis will be Raiden's girlfriend, Rosemary.
Why her?
The Foxhound analyst that was supposed to take part in this mission was in an accident. Rosemary was brought in as a replacement.
With this first interaction we see between them, Rose starts up what's to be a frequent refrain.
Jack?
What?
Do you know what day it is tomorrow?
April 30th. Is there something special about it?
Isn't there?
I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Oh well, I'll keep trying till I hear the answer.
This firmly establishes Raiden's major internal conflict for the rest of the game, remembering the past, both of his own life and of the series. Once Raiden passes this final exam to head for the surface in the lift, we're shown a staged reenactment of the exact scene from MGS1 that Raiden demonstrated total ignorance of only moments ago. Obviously, his memories remain about as inexplicably missing from the narrative as Solid Snake himself. Considering this scene not only resembles the one from MGS1, but that a man who was almost certainly the real Solid Snake performed it right before you, there's a clear message here. Raiden, both literally and metaphorically, follows after Snake. Snake is the source, and Raiden is the echo. Snake, the originator, and Raiden, the memory. Snake, the real event, and Raiden, the story. It's in this ride to the roof that Campbell reveals his reason for changing Raiden's codename.
The terrorists call themselves Sons of Liberty.
Sons of Liberty?
The name of their leader is Solid Snake.
The hero of Shadow Moses? So that's why you changed my code name.
Right, but he can't be the Solid Snake. He died 2 years ago on that tanker after he blew it sky high.
Could he have survived?
Not a chance.